Good evening from Vietnam, Steve. Good morning to you, and thanks a lot for spending your morning joining our program and share your thoughts on the topic of wisdom. And on behalf of the listeners around the world, I want to say thank you to you.
Well, it is always a delight and pleasure. So thank you for having me. And um, I'm curious to see where we go in this conversation. As I'm hardly consider myself a font of it, but I'm always seeking it. So
Wow, wow. We met in Vietnam, and I hope that you're gonna enjoy your trip in Turkey. And if I travel to your region in October, and if we could make it after the 18th of October, I would love to drive to where you and Laura stay and have a cup of tea or cup of coffee together this time in the US. Okay?
I hope we can make that happen. That would be delightful.
Alrighty. And this topic that we are talking about today is about wisdom. All right, so let me ask you about trying with simple thing first. If you can define wisdom in your own word, what is that you are defining wisdom about?
Framework or guideline to live by. The things that will guide you to lead a better and more fulfilling life, richer
Okay.
life, a life where you're helping others.
Alrighty. Wow. I interview a lot of people on this special project, right? And each of them having a different definition of wisdom. Your definition is very unique, very different from other people. Help me to understand how did you come up to that definition as a guideline to live by as a definition of wisdom.
Now, I'm having a hard time separating wisdom from philosophy. I guess maybe one is strategy and the other is tactics. I don't know. But I just see wisdom as you've accumulated. And I always see this as something that it is something you gain over time, or at least I do. I'll look at my behaviors when I'm younger, the things that I've done, the actions that I had where I regret, where I was hurtful. And you shouldn't dwell on the past, but you want to learn from it and go, gee, I'm not happy that I did that. What can I do differently now? What can I learn from that? And I just see these are, if you are an open-minded person, you will reflect on your experiences and learn from mistakes and try to be a better person and lead a better, more fulfilling life. The most precious resource that we all have is time. You can't get that back. So, okay, with the time that I have here, what am I going to do to lead to take the best, most advantage of the time that I have on this planet? The time that I have with friends, the time that I have with family, the time that I have to bring something good into the world. But I see this focus on this as wisdom, or trying to accumulate wisdom and trying to figure out what to do and how
Mhm.
to do it, and
When you
learning
s-
from others, like you, by the way. I mean, the we were. I'm sorry, I don't want this to be a monologue, but before this conversation, you were saying uh, all the people that you've met with and how good they are. And there's so much goodness in the world and kindness in the world. Well, I said part of it is you bring that out in others, and
wow.
I'll notice this and see the actions of others. I'll see the kindness in others, or I'll see great leadership in others. I'll be on a team and I'm not the leader, but I'm watching a really great leader bring out the best in people, and everyone on that team wanting to do their best. And I'll think, what did this person just do? How did,
Mm.
what was it that happened that got this wonderful effort and and team to really produce their best work? If you're smart, you'll look and see what is it that they did, and maybe apply some of that to your own work, your own way of being. So sorry, I droned on too long.
Wow, it's beautiful, and I'm learning while listening, and I'm really enjoying what you just shared. Right, allow me to bring you to when you were really, really, really in different part of your timeline of your life, right? And if you could remember a person or a few person that give you a beautiful piece of wisdom that you still remember until today, at very early age, what would that piece of wisdom that they gave you, and who's that person?
I'm going to say jokingly, pants first, then shoes. Put your pants on first, then put the shoe. I'm joking. Put the shoes on. Oh, this is where um, I'm going to come up with great answers after we're done. That I'll be thinking about what this person said, what this person did, and there were um, um, there have been a few things that come to mind. I know I'm going to have better examples, but I'm remembering 10 years old in summer camp, and um, we're all in these tents. That's where we're staying, where we live as campers, and writing our names and year up on the top of the tent with a magic marker or something like that. And the head counselor coming in, you're not supposed to do that. Um, and, and we got caught and say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Why are you doing it? And here's what I wish I had said. Well, I enjoy seeing the people who came before me and and when they were here and whatever. And so I'm just continuing what I think is a nice tradition. That's not what I said. What I said was, well, everybody else does it. And this guy was an ethics teacher in a high school. So his eyes lit up and said, and because I said, I'm doing it because everybody else does. And boy, he lit into me. Not in a jerky way. I'm a 10-year-old, he's an adult. But it opened my eyes, which is, well, just because everybody does it doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. And in fact, that's how you get mayhem in this world. That's how you get cruelty. That's how you get mob mentality. It stuck with me. So it was a it was a good lesson. By the way, many years later, I ran into him. I told him that I was now in my 40s, and said, you won't remember this, but uh, this happened. So I think he appreciated it.
Wow. When you say it starts with me, that is a very, very big thing, because every good change, it all starts with us first. If we're expecting, other people to change, or create something beautiful, right? So why is it so hard for us to lead in that way for ourselves first?
What do you mean, huh? What's the? I'm not quite following.
My because this is something really, really new coming to my mind, so I'm trying to explain it to you at the same time, right? I think that we tend to expecting other people to change, right? We tend to expect, but not, not thinking of us as the first one who change, or the
Oh
first the
yeah.
catalyst to change. So it's really, and what makes us like that, Steve?
I've read a bunch of books on the subject, and um, my favorite by Ahrens and I can't remember the second author's name. Mistakes were made, but not by me, and how we justify foolish beliefs, poor behavior, and um, the somehow it's a sin or it's bad to be wrong and admit you're wrong or admit that you were mistaken. And that's the only way you grow. That's the only way you become better. That's the only way that you expand. And I can't come up with more words to say what the benefits of this, but um, be open to change. Be open to saying, you know what, I had always thought it was this way, but you've now shown me a different way of looking at this thing. And I think you're right. It's why I try to surround myself when I'm doing group projects, like the book that's coming out shortly. It's a follow up to the first book. This one is with 3 colleagues, and they don't agree with me on everything. I don't want them to agree with me on everything. I want them to challenge me at every step of the way because it forces me to look at my arguments, my way of drawing conclusions, my logic. Is this thing that I'm asserting correct? Is it as good as it could be? So yeah, it drives me nuts. At times I just want to shake these people, but it just makes for a better thing. It's not an echo chamber. I have yet to read this book. It was about Abraham Lincoln's cabinet. It's called Team of Rivals. And he put together people from the other side of the political spectrum. He wanted people to challenge his assertions and give pushback. So it's painful. You want people to, when you're showing work, you want people to tell you how great it is. But I'm seeking both feedback and pushback. If I'm going to be publishing something, writing something, and it's high stakes, if it's a simple little article, I'm not going to do that. And give me pushback. Point out where this thing is flawed. You're helping me. And that's part of changing it, recognizing, wait a second, before I ask them to change, have I looked inward first?
Wow. Steve, receiving feedback, especially negative feedback, is not easy already. Now receiving pushback, like you say, it requires different set of mentality also. We need to prepare for it. We need to get ourselves ready for all of that, like pushing, right? So how can we build that mentality, that mental muscle, so that we are open to that pushback to expand our wisdom?
Ah, that's wisdom. That's recognizing that, hey, ultimately, it's just going to be better. The thing I'm working on is going to be better, and whatever I work on down the road is going to be better because I grappled with this. I I keep thinking of the metaphor of how pearls are made, and that little grain of sand, and you can't get a pearl without irritation. And boy, working with these 3 people, there was plenty of irritation, but we end up producing some good pearls. And by the way, I'm as the I'm no delight to work with either at times. I have my uh, strong opinions, and I don't have a hesitation of asserting them. But hopefully they regard the feedback and the pushback as valuable as well.
Wow.
By the way, they'll also, at times I'll just go, oh my God, this is great. You just nailed it. Bravo. It's not like we're there to undermine each other. There are plenty of times they're doing fantastic work, that I never would have come up with. And I go, my God, this is fantastic. Thank you. Bravo. So it isn't just, we're all dumping on each other. I'm just saying in the places where we are and where we have a problem with it, it's, permission to speak freely.
Steve, at what age or what stage of life did you get that mentality to open for pushback and embrace for pushback and welcome that?
I think it's sadly, I think it's more recent. This would have been a lot better had I been thought it more honestly when I was younger. Certainly I'd take feedback and someone's editing my work and they'd explain why, whatever. But um, I don't know. I'm trying to, I'm thinking of all these different projects, all these different work, collaborating with people, etc. Um, um, I think I embrace it to a greater degree in the last 10 years.
Mm.
By the way, that doesn't mean you have to wait to be old before this happens. There are plenty of people who are way more secure about their work and about receiving criticism. And the you don't have to wait. You can absolutely start doing this as a much younger person. For me, it took a long time. Hopefully, for people listening to this, watching this, whatever, it'll start doing it sooner. You'll make better work.
And our conversation, such conversation like this would help people to reach that stage earlier in life. All right. I hope. So bring me to that moment 10 years ago, because we want to dive in to see what changed back then.
I
Yeah.
don't know if there was any. Um, I can't pin it on any point. It isn't like, oh my God, look at this. This
Ah,
morning, May 18th, 2016, I woke up and realized, well, wait a minute. Um, I'm just, I'm trying to give a generalization of my own behavior. Huh? What about you? So you're pinning this on, um, um, the because I can't pin it on a particular time. I'm just saying, gee, I'm thinking of the way I behaved when I was in my 20s, 30s, and young 40s, and now I'm thinking of the way that I'm behaving, in my 50s and 60s. What about you? Does this
I
make any sense?
uh,
Does what I'm saying make any sense to you?
yes, and to me, I think I remember the day, and the day was October 13th, and it is exactly a years ago, and that was
8
my
years ago?
birthday. Yes, was my birthday. And so I was a high performer, right? So when you're in the high performing, well, sometimes I lose myself. I lose my coolness, my calmness. I lose my even kindness. Put it that way. Okay. So I came to a bookstore and I bought. And on that particular day, I didn't know why I have a big urge of going to the bookstore. And so the first book that I picked at that bookstore was the book from Marshall Goldsmith. So what got you here won't get you there. And I read it, I read it, and the next day I bought all copies of that book at the bookstores. I think 200 of them, and I gave to every single staff that I have.
So
Client,
which title? Which title? Because I haven't
what
read it.
what got you here won't get you there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's how I remember, because after that I sat down with my wife and start listing, my behaviors, what got me here, and also it's not gonna get me anywhere further than from getting me here, right? And I think I remember the day is October 13, 8 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, no, I don't have anything as definitive. I don't have that inflection point in my life. So what changed? What then happened? What were you doing before? So this was October 13th, 2017, correct?
Yes.
Um, what then changed? What happened? What thing might you have done that you did differently after having read that book and it having such an impact on you?
I think the biggest change is that bring me happiness. I really look at the way that I work and the way I live my life. So you came to my family, right? You see our family and you see the synergy there. Before that, we didn't have it. Before that, it's all about working, client engagements, about like activities for works, but a lot less activities for home, right? And that particular day, I sat down with my wife and I said, okay, so this is not the way we want to live, and make example of our family and our children, right? So we need to make a move forward. Yeah. So, and I think it's not easy. It's not easy to change, but when we committed to do that, then one day and then 1 week and then 1 month and 1 year later, you start to see the behavioral change, and you start to see the people to accepting you for your behavioral changes, and then you see, I think that that really changed, give me a lot of happiness and peaceful, and the beautiful thing, Steve, is after that the business part is a little better too. So once the
Mm.
happiness from the family gets better, then the business also get a lot better. And I have no explanation for this correlation. I just feel like it just happened because the inner, like you say, we change first, right? And the rest of that is the attraction of goodness that come in, the newness that come in, and well, the rest is history, I think.
Well, you're now, this is good because you're reminding me of something many years ago. I was consulting for a firm that no longer exists, Wall Street firm. And um, I'm living in the city with Laura, didn't have kids yet. And um, there were two people there, and whatever. There was a a high performing work culture there. A lot of the people I was talking to were young and ambitious. There was a lot of money to be made, but there was um, one guy I spoke to, and he was saying that he was like leaving work between 5:30 and 6, and he said, "Well, I'm doing that for my kid." And then there was another one who was working until 9 or 10 or 11 at night. Said, "Why are you working until 9, 10, 11 at night?" "Oh, well, I'm doing it for my kid." The one wanted to be home, and the others thought, "Oh, I need to accumulate as much money as possible for the kid." And it was just, very interesting, what they claimed to be the, for whatever, for how much time they were putting in. Um, Having been guilty from time to time of the second, working and not at, I definitely side with the first, which is, um, uh, and ended up spending as much time with my kids as they were growing up as I could, just by running a business, and because you don't get that back again,
Yeah.
and it goes by really fast. So,
Wow. I understand. I agree. And I agree. And like this summer, my son came back with my daughter from the state back here, right? And they told me that they had the most beautiful summer in their life because like I spend only half of the day at work, and the rest of the day I come back, and I let the clients know way in advance of my schedule, and so that emergency, so we plan for emergency and everything, and I try my best to spend time with them, to travel, to spend family time, right? And it made me realize that if I could do it earlier, in which we cannot buy the time back, right? But we can always change forward. I want to continue this path as long as I could, and hopefully that God give me that ability to continue doing the works now, and being able to balance the between work and life. I know it's not easy, but it's intentional, and I try to do my best with it. So
well, your son did something really smart. There's a lot of wisdom there, which was he managed the client's expectations. That he let them know ahead of time, hey, this is my schedule, this is what's going to be going on, and I'll I'm just aghast when I see people that know there's going to be a problem with a deliverable, but they're not going to tell me that. Instead they're just late. I said, well, if you know there's going to be a problem, say, look, I want to give you a heads up. The work's going to be great, but I don't think I'm going to make it on such and such a date. Or um, I have a client now who's been very late paying me for something.
Mm.
And um, and eventually, they told me what was going on. And I told them, look, I'm sympathetic to this and understand this, but I had some difficulty when I was years ago running a software company, and someone gave me very good advice when I was in a situation where I could not pay my bills on time. I contacted every one of the people that I owed money ahead of time and let them know, here's the situation. You're absolutely going to get paid. It may take longer than I wanted to, but I wanted to let you know about this. Every one of them was great. They said, you know what? Thank you for telling me. That I alerted them to this before it became a problem, and they'd have to chase after me. And
Mm.
I've remained in good graces with them. As I just rather than letting the problem be a surprise, let them know ahead of time.
Mm.
Whatever it is, hey, I may not be able to do that, or I'm running into some problems here. Now, you can't just keep doing that and pushing it down the road, but
Mm.
um, it just seems, um, or let's say you need to get, someone's waiting for a response, and oh man, it's going to take me a long time to respond to this. This is not a 15 minutes. This is going to take 2, 3 hours. Just respond with, hey, the um, I know I owe you a response. I got a lot of other stuff going on right now. I haven't forgotten about you. You're important. There's someone who kind of lost a big deal, didn't end up publishing a book because it just never got back to the person who submitted a proposal. And just say, hey, I haven't forgotten. I've got like 10 other things. It's important. And I want to make sure that I give this the time and attention it deserves. So I'm sending you a note. I have not forgotten about this. Didn't do that. I was, what is the matter with you? Just, the person's wondering, does this person care? Are they, etc. And it's just send a simple note just saying, I'm aware of this. I haven't forgotten. There's just a lot going on. You go,
Ah.
oh, okay. I really appreciated hearing from the person. Thank you. So uh, there, pro tip. All right.
Yeah.
Um, the 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 manage people's expectations. Don't have them going, what's going on? I haven't heard. Don't ghost them. It just doesn't work out well.
Yeah. Well, you've been working with so many people. You travel the world with Laura, with your business partners, and you met amazing people. So, of course, how I want to understand from your perspective is how do you see if a person is wise and worth your time to learn from, to enjoy having friendship or partnership with, and who is, well, better not having in your life?
Um, I haven't figured out what's the rubric that I use for determining this, that, oh, here is someone that's worth in investing my
Oh,
time. And if you subscribe to the notion that our most precious resource is time, it's finite, we can't buy more of it. Um, uh, the Then what is the determination of, this is just not a good use of my time to engage with this person, and I haven't figured out what that is. Am I getting a dopamine hit, or am I getting angry when I'm spending time with this person? And is it am I after a conversation? Am I leaving engaged, excited, energized, or am I demoralized? I guess that's hey, I had a couple of interactions and I left angry, I left bored, I left demoralized, um, I left upset, or versus, oh, I had a few interactions with this person and it was mind opening, it was funny, it was entertaining, it was thought provoking. So I think that's what we're all processing in this thing. The you hope to get to that level with the person where you're speaking about something besides small talk, that there's something a little more rich and engaging that you're having with them. But I don't know. How about for you? When do you decide this is toxic? I'm going to avoid this, versus, oh my gosh, this is just um, um, enthralling. What do you do a similar type of thing?
I think
That
I think just like you. So
yeah.
give the people the benefit of the doubt first. But if it turned out is all the energies that we're not in sync together, then and well, the world is full of people and our time is finite. So spend time with the people that we can collaborate better, add values more, right? And God forbid if in the future that person we meet again and and give us a big surprise about how wise a person is, how beautiful about the individual. I would love to have another conversation with that person if he or she allows me to, you know, forgive for my stupid mistakes in the past of avoiding them.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, Steve, in one of the research that my wife and I, we've been on the quest to do is to help people to improve their ability to think, right? And I think that's why I told you earlier that we formed a company called Rewire Thinking, because we want to help people with workshops, with training, with consulting to help the team and individuals to improve their ability to think, right? And so for you, over the years, how have you been growing your ability to think?
Just try to surround myself with good thinkers, smart people. People recommend good books, good ideas, good approaches. Um, Thinking of some of the close friends I have, and gee, I want to be more like that. Uh, the discipline, the work ethic, um, on some parts of it, the um, ability to bring a good attitude to something. The um, and so much of working is coming in with the right attitude about things. It's your personal framing of the thing. Um, so this the I like what you're doing, and it's what a lot of my colleagues are doing, which is they've kind of figured out how to teach or explain the different components of these things that I've learned to do. Um, um, Someone who's teaching, storytelling with data, Hallie Torvin, a colleague, and very creative person, and she's both in this course she's developed and book she's written called Chart Spark. She kind of figures out how she does what she does and is explaining it to others so maybe other people can do this. It sounds like that's what you're doing with Vivian and creating these workshops and courses that explain, hey, here's how you can do this, as opposed to just kind of figuring out by feel what you're supposed to do. No, here are the actual um, steps. Here are the exercises. Here are activities one can do with these things. And it's just like, oh my God, that's amazing, bringing that into the world, as opposed to this very vague, soft guidance I'm giving, which is, hey, that's a cool person. That person's doing really amazing stuff. What are they doing to get there? And just kind of observing it versus, no, I'm going to really systemize this, or I'm going to really spend time with them and ask them, what exactly are you doing? I'm
Mm.
thinking of one of my friends in general who's now a philanthropist. Um, and I think he speaks 6 languages,
Wow.
working on a seventh. He's working on Farsi, which he said is kicking his
Wow.
ass, um, because he and his wife are trying to help Afghanistan refugees who have come to the United States.
Oh.
And what he does and how much time he's doing it and the notebook that he has, etc. He is uncommonly disciplined and systematic about how to learn and achieve things. But unless you're a closed-minded idiot, you can't help looking at this and going, "Oh, look at the results this guy is getting. Maybe I should try some of this stuff too."
Mm. You,
And then I'll go watch a TikTok video instead.
Steve, teach me. All of that comes from the curiosity inside of you to observe, to look, to watch, to see what's good from other people so that you can learn from, have a reflective moment to use, to share, to teach, right? And earlier you said that it's about, it's an attitude, right? So, and our attitude may be altered by our days also. Some days we're good, sometimes we're bad, and it also affecting our commitment to stay curious a little longer. So, how could you stay curious that long? And I believe there's going to be continuing for that mentality moving forward also.
Um, Same man. What a good question. I want to hear what you have to say about it. But it's if you get a return on investment along the way, which you have to get, if you're practicing, if you're working at something and there's no improvement or there's no joy, it's very hard to keep going at it. But think about us both deciding, am I going to spend more time hanging out and talking with this person? Or am I, going to not spend time with this person because it's a waste of my time and time is so precious. There has to be some return that has happened along the way that you've seen some improvement, something that goes, this is worth um, the investment. So this having a curious mind, and yours is one of the most curious, all the people that you talk to and banter with and learn from and engage with, um, you're a good role model for this type of thing. The, the there has to have been along the way. Ooh, I'm now getting something from this. I'm thinking, my background, what I trained for was as a musician. And I'm starting
Mm.
to really re-embrace that again. And musicians will end up transcribing solos that other musicians have done, and they're constantly looking at, man, that sounded amazing. What did that person do there? Wait, let me slow this down. Let me work on it. Let me get this under my fingers, whatever instrument that you're playing. I'm thinking of someone who's improvised. What did they do? How did they do it? Let me internalize this. And that's that's a mentality and that musicians will carry. That's how you get good at stuff. You end up what Austin Kleon calls stealing like an artist. So you were talking about these pivotal moments, snapshot moments. Sophomore year in college, I'm rooming with 6 other guys, and two of them are actually very gifted trumpet players, but one of them discovered a bebop trumpet player by the name of Clifford Brown. My guess is no one in your thousands of conversations has yet talked, I could be wrong. In any case, is a brilliant young trumpet player. And I watched my friend with, you know, dropping a needle on a record because we didn't have CDs or we didn't have MP3s or the functional equivalent or .wav files, and listening to it and then writing down what the trumpet player had played. So he's now transcribed the solo and then he's learning to play it himself. And I was dazzled by this and went, oh, that's how you get good. That's how maybe I should try something like this too.
Wow.
And it had a big effect to watch this person who was already very gifted, um, decide to, I'm going to tackle this difficult music, and here's how I'm going to tackle it. One measure at a time, write it down, learn to play it. Damn, that had a big effect on me.
Steve, you mentioned about that a friend in high school, right? So,
That was in college, sophomore year in
okay,
college. Let me
sophomore
give him
year
a
in
shout
college.
out. His name is John Dolan. The other trumpet player, absolutely wonderful human being and wonderful player, was Bill Ash. So in case at some point they see this thing, tip of the hat to both of them.
Wow. See, back then, your superpower is also watching. So you watching him playing, watching him to master his skill, right? And then you see that is something that you can learn. This is something that you can apply to yourself. I'm wondering, is that your nature or the way you nurture that leading you to have that mindset, that skill set?
The well, any person who's looking for cause and effect, not just correlation and cause and effect, it's okay, that seems to lead to good results. Now, I wish I had more discipline for this stuff. Um, I can practice 1 hour a day, maybe two. I can't practice 4 hours a day. I just don't have and I think that's what it takes to really be um, excellent at an instrument. The the so-called Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours type of thing
Uh-huh.
that goes into this thing. There are other things that I could spend hours and hours and hours on, but playing a musical instrument, not so much. The but I mean, by the way, spending a lot of time with musicians, you'll see, okay, he's not the only one that does this and parses it, and how do I figure this out, and how do I get good at stuff. By the way, you want to. I've noticed this in a lot of places that uh, you want to hire someone who's going to be a really good employee. Hire a musician. They
Oh,
there's a discipline there um, that you may not even, you'll be surprised. And a lot of the musicians are awfully good coders as well. Whatever the mentality that leans towards understanding and nurturing and composing music, or understanding how it works, lends itself to computer coding as well. At least in my experience, I've seen a fair amount of that.
wow, wow. That is newness right there, Steve. I never
There
heard
we
of
go.
that, and I would love to share that piece that you just shared because it's a new thing maybe for a lot of people also to expand their perspective about hiring employees because we don't want them to follow what the formula been setting out, a successful formula been set out long ago, and then maybe it's time for us to really to exploring the world under the new lens and new perspective, right?
Well, I'll tell you the story of my really early on. So I finished grad school with a master's in music, came to New York City, struggling to make it as a full-time musician, but I was already good at computers. This is a long time ago. This is the mid 1980s. So we're floppy disks, Lotus 1, 2, 3. There's no Excel or anything like that yet. And I remember being hired to teach the popular spreadsheet program at the time at a bank. And I was panicked. I'm staying up late at night learning all these financial functions and things. Oh, well, how do I do net present value? How do I do future value, etc.? Because I don't know any of this stuff. And I'm giving my first class, and I was expecting everybody in this class to have the same brilliance, dedication that all my music friends had. Realize any of the people that I went to music school with, conservatory or whatever, even the ones that sucked were good. That there was a discipline and an approach to the stuff. And the these I'm not saying that these people were schlubs or whatever, but they were, oh my God, they were so excited because I could copy and paste and I could show them how to do that. So I was expecting a level of excellence in the business world that was pervasive in the music world. And it wasn't necessarily there at this bank teaching people how to use a spreadsheet. I'm not saying that there wasn't brilliance, but it wasn't um, as pervasive. And um, and I loved teaching these people, and they were open to it, etc. But I was expecting a level of excellence, and I was so frightened that I wouldn't know how to use the net present value function. And it was, oh my God, they're nowhere near ready for anything like that. I've got to explain how to put a formula in, and what an absolute reference is, and how copy and paste work, and things like that. And it was eye-opening. So in any case, getting back to this, um, you'll people who are hiring or whatever, look for people who have a background in music.
Wow.
You'll probably be, I yeah, the person needs to code or whatever it is, but you'll probably be pleased
Okay.
with the type of discipline and discipline and creativity that you're going to get.
Wow, absolutely. That is the two traits that we look for in the in people in organizations, right? Steve, last question tonight is is about wisdom in the age of AI. Okay, so with artificial intelligence come in, there's a lot of change in the world at the moment. So I just want to hear your perspective on how you think that will add it into our, like wisdom and how we use it max.
More need than ever to have people who are steeped in critical thinking. And because to a major extent you are delegating, but hopefully not abdicating responsibility for producing work. So you need to know what good looks like. You need to know, you're asking it to create a chart, you're asking it to create a graphic or something like that. You need to think of it as being an intern or someone who's coming up. You need to know what the right, good, correct, accurate, what integrity looks like, what honesty looks like in this stuff, so that you can vet whether what this thing is producing is something that you want to be associated with. It's just way too easy to go, oh, I'm just going to have it do something for me. That's my overarching notion of this stuff. You need to know what good looks like if you're going to ask this thing to help you produce work.
Wow. I say I asked you the last question. Now is that okay? I asked one last question. I guarantee this is the last one.
Go ahead.
So when you say that you need to know what good look like, right? Teach us what good look like in your own definition, Steve.
Oh, I'm trying to. I can't give it quickly. Obviously I'm thinking about AI within constraints of how I use it. I will never ask it to write a letter for me because I want the letters I write to sound like me, or to I don't want it to write an article for me. If I'm asking it to assist with interrogating a data set or producing a chart, I at this point know what a good chart looks like. How it needs to be rendered, where the axis starts, where the labels are, etc. If you're going to be using this to do business communication with charts, with graphs and charts, you need to know, I've written books that teach you how to do this, what good looks like in data visualization. So you need to know the difference between a clear, accurate, and truthful graph and one that is may look beautiful but is misleading or is unclear. So I think we have a greater need for data literacy and business communication literacy now than we did before AI, because you're just letting these things run rampant. And you need, everyone needs to look and be able to go, wait a second, there's something wrong with that. Hey, you're exaggerating the differences. There isn't, between, you're doing an A/B marketing and you're trying to make B look way, way better. So the bar is huge and the A bar is really tiny. So look how much bigger this bar is than this bar. But in fact, if you look carefully, you see, one is 99.3 and the other is 99.5. And there's no statistical difference between the two things, unless there is a meaningful difference between those two things. So I think we all need to be smarter as we're asking these things to do more work for us. We don't have to do it ourselves, but we have to know what accurate, what truthful, what correct, what quote unquote good looks like.
Wow. And I hope that by this program, by this project of wisdom, by this conversation we have with you and other people in this project, that can help people to look what good looks like, and for them to get wiser with time, right? So Steve, thank you very much for spending your morning to join this conversation with us, and I wish you and your family all the best. And I wish you and Laura to enjoy the trip in Turkey. I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful trip. And if we could meet in person after the 18th of October, definitely I love to see you and Laura in person. We are there. Okay.
Likewise, my love and fondest wishes to your wife, to your kids, who I hope are thriving on the west coast of the United States right now, and to your continued gratitude for you bringing so much good into the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Say hello to your daughters first also, please, and Laura too. Bye bye.
My pleasure. Bye bye.